I would just like to share a small incident. I think it was in 2017. I heard Sumitji in a conference in Singapore how AI can be used to improve the collection efficiency. That was the first time I heard somebody is talking about to use AI to improve the collection efficiency. So whatever I learned, we engaged them, we used it, and I can proudly say today in BSES our collection efficiency is in the range of 99.9% to 100%. And the software has played a big role. So thank you for sharing the views. Our one more panelist, Mr. Sandeep Goswami, who has done a lot of work on the meter data and the sensor data to improve the efficiency and the reliability of the grid operation. And grids are the key units for the power distribution business. So he would like to make a small presentation. Mr. Sandeep.
So meanwhile, the presentation is coming up. I would like to put some light upon everybody is talking about data. So, and there are various data is typically arranged in databases. There are various databases, that are there in any utility or in any system. And, I'll focus everything on these aspects of the databases. So data, when it is sliced and diced in isolation, gives typically just the information that this is my consumer profile, this is what, and nothing substantial typically comes out of it. But when we amalgamate this data amongst various databases in toto, then it yields some specific actions, actionable insight which leads to action. So, and then we can apply the stacks such as machine learning and artificial intelligence onto it, deriving the actionable insight and therefore actions. So that's what we do. Next slide, please. Okay, sure. So the challenge today faced by utilities is data management, because there are various databases, and to bring those databases onto the same stack is definitely a challenge. Then the system integration, how my legacy system are going to talk to the new systems that I have implemented just now. And the quality of data, some data is in the form of customer metadata, some data is in the form of structured databases, relational, non-relational, etc. And the last one is cybersecurity. That is one of the most critical concern as of now. So how we solve it? Our smart controllers basically use the advanced technologies such as non-relational databases and all to bring them onto the same stack. And as we bring onto the same stack, we have machine learning algos that are continuously streaming on it. We call it a stream analytics. And then these feedback as well as the data index gets stored in a specific format. After that, the things that comes out of it, reliability of power supply can be ensured. We can enhance other, things. We can get customer insights. For example, what's the load profile of the customer, and better forecasting, better scheduling can be real time. Instead of harnessing the data after it is there, it is available, on the go. So this is my favorite slide. So how you can harness the data that is available with you for efficient load management and forecasting. Then, determining the over voltages that will be there due to renewables ingestion and EV cars plugging in at the same time. Then, pattern discovery, how the customer pattern, what is the pattern of specific area, and we can relate it to the socioeconomic profile to gain insights of it. And load classification, what kind of load a customer have in his house, that is giving spikes or, troughs for a certain, at certain times. And then, manage safety last, but not the least, manage safety by using sensors. So these sensors can also manage safety such as fire, and can give critical alarms to the customer as well as, to the localized agency. That is a far off stretch, I believe. So by harnessing the power of data, one can capture the meter data and couple it with the grid data to come up with the efficient findings such as these. So, that's all from your side.
Thank you, Sandeep. We have one more panelist, Mr. Vasunda from Acceleron. And Mr. Rajdhani is well known for providing prepaid solution. So let's have a small presentation from Mr. Bansal.
Yeah, so you can remove all the promotional content from there and let us make it educational. And we basically, I represent Acceleron Software. We have been doing smart meter based prepayment solution for the past 20 years. We used to have a patent in the smart meter based prepayment until like all the software patents were cancelled and stuff like that. But we have about 80 utilities. So this is our story. We founded in 1999, and our first cloud-based. I'm sorry for the mess up. There is like incompatibility issues like we see in every other system talking. So my Mac didn't want to convert it to Windows. In 2004, we had our first prepayment solution on the utility in production, which is on our cloud, because back then we didn't really use AWS, but now we are AWS compliant. And in 2009, we kind of understood that mobile applications are important and engagement is very, very important for the consumers to know how much balance is there, what is their consumption, so that they won't complain about getting disconnected and not knowing what is the balance and how much energy they can consume. In 2012, we started Indian office, and in 2016, what we saw is mobile first, where our mobile users surpassed the web application users. And in 2018, we had our 60th utility, and we have about 80 utilities right now. So this is our typical US, how it looks. So all the stars and red, that doesn't really mean the Republican states, they are basically our territories where we serve the customers. And we have like the most experience than anybody in that place, and that is basically our Indian office. So the conversation we are having today is about what happens after smart meters are deployed and how the smart meter infrastructure is going to help the consumer and utility in reducing the costs and improving their billing, collection, and efficiencies. I have to thank Mr. Bansal ji and Mr. Gupta ji for setting the context to understand the consumer better. So what we do is we collect 2.5 million meters data, and we do 100 million reads per day. So whatever you are seeing in that box is a transaction every day. We send like 3,500 alerts and 15,000 API requests, which are probably to IVRs, different head-end systems, billing systems, and all of that. And we have about 1 lakh consumer sessions. So people like you and me, as a consumer, will go there and see what the consumption is and whether I need to recharge. All that information will be made available. For the postpaid mode, usually we have an auto credit facility. We don't even know how much we are spending, or we don't even know how much it really costs to run a house. But that problem is solved, and people will not complain saying, "Ye meter tez chalti hai." That is the biggest problem. That is what we have been hearing in most of the deployments in India, in Bihar or UP or all the places. And I also need to thank Mr. Gupta for bringing the security aspect, because and the previous gentleman who spoke about EU and regulations. We are security compliant. Our systems, our hiring, our entire process is basically audited by third parties. So SOC 2 Type 2, we are a SOC 2 Type 2 organization, and PCI level 3. So we can actually store the credit cards. And we have 99.99% up. And that 0.01%, we went down because there was a distributed denial of service on the DNS, preventing users from accessing the systems. So that is not our fault too. I mean, it is not to say that faults are not ours, but this is what we keep up. So this the way we have to basically foresee how Indian smart metering happens, because the numbers we are talking about are 250 million. It is not a pilot project, and when we are talking about huge deployments, it is not just a meter. There are people who probably will not pass their exams if we disconnect them just before the exams, or surgeries will stop. So we have to make sure that the service has to be up and there are no accidental shocks for the end consumers. So for that to achieve, you need to understand what are the priorities, whether we should prioritize the payments, whether we should prioritize the restores, whether we should prioritize the disconnects. And based on that specific time, we have to make sure that all the business cases are kind of in alignment to benefit both the utility and the consumer. And at that scale, you need to make sure your infrastructure and the application itself is scalable. So for us, what we do is we rely quite a bit on Cloudflare so that we don't really be attacked by distributed denial of service. And the remaining ping, dump, pager duty, Raymond are basically to keep us on our toes. If some system is going down, we will be alerted and immediately our personnel will be taking care of it. So, again, I'm sorry, I'm not really sure if I'm doing Mr. Gupta's presentation or mine, because he told about energy conservation, how this data is going to help. And because of the data that we are processing, what we will also do is we will bring in behavioral changes to the end consumer. We will send push notifications, SMS notifications, and calls to prevent them from being disconnected. And if there are any events happening, we will let them know. And because of your consumption related alerts, they will start reducing their consumption, thereby helping in energy conservation. And when it comes to utility, we based on our data, we figured that 80% reduction in aged arrears and 72% in bad reduction. These are the changes that you start seeing once you implement a proper prepayment solution, regardless of whether it is Acceleron or somebody else. But these are the things that you need to take care of. And the most important thing is 93% customer satisfaction. So people will be happy when you are providing the service. And especially it becomes more important in the prepaid scenario because we are getting the money first. And if we do not provide the service, then people will come and ask the questions, right? And there are some instances in some of the utilities in India where people made the payment and they got disconnected. And they were celebrating and they got disconnected. So we don't want to create that chaos. We are here to serve and we are here to solve a problem. And once we solve the problem, what happens is your adoption will become easier. You don't really need to depend on schemes or schemes to promote certain things, because your ROI will drive everything. People will start realizing, okay, this is my loss and I reduced it by probably 10%, 50% or whatever, and they will start coming to the central government and says that, okay, I want to go for a prepayment program or digitization or whatever. And now coming, when you're talking about a huge scale, I will not take more time. It is not possible for you to assume that everything will be uniform and I'm going to have like advanced web services and scalable systems. So you might be having like some file-based interfaces, some web services-based interfaces, and even when I'm saying file-based or web services, they can be different. So you need to cater to multiple systems and you should be interoperable. So this table essentially talks about different ways you can integrate and the ways you need to think about. This is how the application looks, and these are the different data points, your balances, your consumption information, how many. So the graph at the bottom, which is basically looking similar to your speedometer, will tell you how many days your balance is going to last based on your past consumption data. That is again algorithm driven. This is how the disconnect setting happens. So you can set it whether in which specific weekday you want to set, what is the from time, daytime, and whether you want to give any balance credit so that they don't really get disconnected when their balances are zero. And it also has a feature where when you imagine a utility person wants to test some of the features that they want to roll out in production, and you don't want to disconnect them accidentally. So all these features will be only happening to the whitelisted meters. So this will help people being impacted by the testing happening at the utility. And the same applies to the communication also. We don't want to send any unnecessary alerts to the people when we are actually testing. I mean, while speaking about these alerts, recently in UK, what happened was there was an emergency alert push notification that was sent across. And people were panicking because the moment you saw that, until somebody really comes back and says that that is basically a test alert, they will be in panic. And when it comes to electricity, it causes chaos because there are systems that are dependent on them. This is the rating, and we support different kind of rental, time of use, net metering, and stuff like that. And the most important thing I want to emphasize here is when we are talking about the solution, what we are doing is there is a lot of resistance when people go to disconnect meters. And why? Because that is basically seen as threat to their self-esteem. And by this, we are letting them keep their electricity without really taking your police force and disconnecting. And it is not to say that we are secretly disconnecting. The power of prepayment solution is not in disconnection. It is basically in preventing disconnections. So they are the most happiest customers who really cannot afford, and they cannot really pay once in a month. Probably they want to pay it in like three or four installments. I think that is pretty much it. And once you have a solution, the way it helps is it helps the utilities, it helps the consumers, and it helps the economy, because once your electricity is proper, people will be more educated, and your GDP will increase. So that is probably the responsibility that is on our shoulders. Thank you.
So maybe now we can start our panel discussion. And my suggestion is, what I have planned is, I have planned a list of questions. So I expect if you can give me answer in brief. And the question is not to anyone specific. Rather, I will prefer if you find relevant, all of you can reply to it. Fine? So, just setting the background of the panel discussion. Since yesterday we are talking about installation of 250 million meters. And today, if we consider a base rate of around 9,000 Indian rupees, this will come out somewhere around more than 2 trillion rupees investment we are talking. And we are talking this huge investment of 2 trillion rupees in next 2 years or by 2025. Now my question is, if we are spending so much money, how we can recover that money? How we can get the return on the investment? And my question to all the panelists is, what is your suggestion? What action, the next action do you recommend to recover such a big investment which the utilities, which the public, which the government is making? Maybe we can start from this and can move into that.
Thank you, sir. It's a good question, because since the investments have been there, utility which is making investment, bringing the AMI-SP as a partner, and for them, when there's such a huge task has been taken, there has to be a performance management monitoring index, right, where you are trying to look at that what is the value I'm gaining out of this investment. Now, that could be achieved by keeping it myself brief. One is part of when the meter has been put out from my inventory, still there's a tracking of the meter, where it's been put, how it has been put, whether it's been put correctly, previous meter information which was there has been transferred to this. So now these all things have not been done properly and tracked in system by means of various milestone which has been there. The end outcomes would be that the meter would be installed, but the investment would not be actually being reaped out it. So that's the first point. Second is the data, which is the new gold, which is called about as a oil, and that can help to look at the performance monitoring. In fact, all payments for the AMI-SP will depend upon how they are trying to show the reduction in the losses as well as the improvement in the efficiency in the network. And that will happen by the part of bringing in better systems, better analytical systems which can harness the data and provide the outcomes on that. So I'll keep myself brief on that, and thank you.
Yeah. So investment is something that I don't understand personally, or I mean, this trillion number which Bansalji told is pretty scary. I'm still counting the number of zeros in it. One thing what I would like to say is it is very, very important. Again, I'm basically going back and latching on to Mr. Gupta's statement about indexing and figuring out what are the key customers that are going to get the maximum impact. That is important. It is not just once you get the smart meter, then we will start analyzing. You need to start analyzing the data before you actually start rolling out to figure out which pockets are going to get us more ROI, so that it is not like I'm going to deploy like millions of meters and then your returns will start coming. So because it is very, very important for the people and also to the government to see quick small wins, and generating that revenue just instead of looking at the investment is going to help us in speeding up and in adoption as well. Thank you.
So thanks everyone. I think very rightly said that we cannot wait for the full rollout to happen. I mean, it should be started today itself, and we don't need all the 100% or even 20% rollout for to harness the data. I mean, right away, that apart from billing, one thing that is obvious to me is to put that data into grid efficiencies. So it is more, it works more for the utilities as well by improving efficiency of the grid, by limiting the breakdowns and by doing other things like efficient forecasting. So those can be the avenues that can be looked at, and that can be looked today itself. I mean, we don't need for rollout to happen. We can just simulate the data and have the apps, and then we can have AI and ML, as Mr. Gupta said, to harness the data to predict how it is going to behave, and then we'll have efficiency coming in with that. Thank you.
Hello? Yeah, okay, so if I begin from now and further on, so actually by doing the rollouts, we now start collecting data even on the site data and the consumer data. So that data will be important to be kept later on, because we are now building quality and robust systems by renewing this. And this we can also draw some experience and improvements of when we are servicing and maintaining all the networks. So from now on, we can improve all the costs for having the service out to the end consumers. And in the end, there are also a huge impact of collecting data and using that data for energy consumption purposes. So this is a benefit of the citizens, definitely.
So can I add also one point? I think I missed out that point, which was Bansal Saab was waiting to hear. Today, utility is spending money. There's a gap which is like the theft or pilferages. Now, if you are able to identify those meters or those households which are not actually giving revenue, they become the first point to put the smart meters, and then that's where the value of the money starts coming out, and as you roll out and bring your rollout perspective. Thank you.
Yeah. So my next question is, all this investment the trillion rupees investment which we are doing, is this only meant for theft? Or do we think that the smart meter will take care of all the utility issues, concerns, objectives, expectations? So shall we confine the smart metering only up to the theft, or we should talk about the other issues, other concerns? Safety is a big issue, network management is a big issue, outages are issues, accidents are issues, power quality is an issue, harmonic is an issue. So what do we expect? Do we expect the smart metering can take care of only the prepayment commercial part, or it can take care of the network also? So what's your comment? And if you agree, then what is your suggestion that how we can leverage benefit in these areas also?
Again, a very, very good question. And I remember 10 years back when the smart grid things happened, smart metering was a perspective use case which was driven by 14 pilots in India. The idea was the Western world was talking about smart grid as a climate change initiative, whereas India, the smart metering or smart grid was part of the balance of the grid, theft reductions, efficiency improvement. So the different perspective which was there, the Western world was talking about different thing on the smart metering, whereas India, it was different. So now coming to the third question, theft is small perspective of it, but the overall element, if you look at the smart metering, is about the efficiency in the network, energy audit which comes in, right from the part of the feeder to DT to my consumer level, how I'm trying to look the optimization of the network, and that's what my data will improve, the frequency will improve part of it. The data which was like monthly driven or bi-monthly now will be becoming a part of 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and I have more control on it. So it is much beyond, and this is about handling the health of the entire utility, which is now being monitored much more closely and much more better. And various steps. Now also the recovery part, if you look at health of the utility was impacted, questions were there because billing was 100%, metering was 100%, but recovery was questionable. Now we look at part of with this coming in smart meters as a part of initiative, prepaid smart meters. We are looking forward that the control will be in utility's hand, and you can disconnect the consumer and look at him to pay. And that's what somebody tells about self-esteem of the consumer. Nobody wants to get disconnected. So I believe, sir, keeping myself again short over here, the overall objective is larger, which is about bringing the entire change in the utility framework, the standards and safety, as well as being part of bringing the level of emergence of a new utility with the data playing a larger role in that. Thank you.
Maybe I can just add a supplement. Which of the two objectives you feel should be on the top priority?
I believe energy audit should be the first one, because that is typically we're able to do that.
Or do you say audit is an objective or audit is an activity?
Sorry, I'm thinking another part of the objective is that we have to improve the and health is part of recovery and the money which becomes.
So financial health.
Financial health is very, very important at this point, because we know what the burden the utilities are on and what this burden pass on to taxpayers like us.
Already available for smartphone so that we can leverage maximum gain. What do you say about that?
So the question is on the maximum gain from the utility perspective also.
So like smartphones, we have smart mobile apps.
Yeah.
Are we expecting, or where there will be a scenario when we will have similar types of apps based on the smart meters?
Yeah, so certain
meter data.
Correct. So if you look around today, the entire way the consumers are being looked at, I mean, it's a complete change with the perception of the utility.
Just interruption. The apps can be for even field staff of the utility.
Correct. So if you look at, sir, their whole gamut of activity which was being modeled around looking at system is available on the hand device. So if you look at consumer interaction, consumer payment and billing, all has come on a part of mobile app. Now even you can pay by a part of an SMS or a WhatsApp. They don't have to go and log into the app and then do that. So this is one element as the meter, as the utilities are going ahead with metering information coming up more and more. In fact, a certain utility in the Jaipur where we're working in, the entire your consumption pattern you can see on your device. You can look at what your consumption have been for each device, so you can control, okay, how my consumption variance were there. And on that part, we are able to, there's a AI built on that. We are suggesting the consumer that you are consuming more on the morning half or the second half. And that's where there would be a TOD-based mechanism where we call it part of demand response will be coming up to the consumer opting in the using the phone. So smartphones can enable that kind of. So the benefit will pass on to the consumer as well as to the utility. Both will happen by the phone. And
We can have faster one.
yeah, and the second one is for field service. Certainly for the field service, I don't, is mobile works on the field service part. They have entire beautiful application on the field service, and field service is what second activities coming on the element of handled by the part of smartphone. Nobody has to go and log onto the system, take a picture, upload it, and then it can tell you, okay, what notifications and what service has to be done. I think that's the way utility will be going forward with smart applications.
Thank you. So maybe 20 years back, we never imagined that TV needs a smart app, right? Tata Sky actually changed it. You can subscribe to BBC one day, sports channels other day, cartoon channels other day. The same kind of interaction is going to happen in the utility space as well. So imagine a scenario where a specific utility is going to offer water, gas and electricity. You can opt in and opt out, and you can basically change your tariff structures without really you needing to call the customer care centers or doing like filling your paperwork and waiting for like 30 days, 40 days for them to bless and you get your services. And next is you will be able to make gamification on top of your consumption so that people feel more responsible, and you say, okay, last month you spent like 500 rupees. This month, by changing your consumption pattern, you will be able to reduce your charges from 500 to 300. And also you can bring in a social interaction by saying, okay, I saved this by going with say BSES or Tata Power in specific program. That in fact helps the utilities also in their promotion, not just for the customer satisfaction. So that is what I think. Thank you.
So for the consumers, I mean, I might be too futuristic, but I think if the program, like you mentioned, if the program comes that you want to save 30% of your bill, or okay, subscribe to this program of the utility, and you will be able to save 3,000 rupees next month based on their consumption. I mean, that can be one of the avenues where smart app. I mean, everyone will love to save, so they will deploy the app. So very first thing to get into the consumer phone is to show him money. I mean, if we show them money, then only they'll allow us in their phone. Secondly, for the EV staff, definitely for utility staff, it will make a lot of sense, because I've been hearing from automation and maintenance staff about a term called MTTR, I mean, mean time to restore. The mean time to restore, one of the aspect is the information flow. The information flow is so different, then it goes to the SCADA center, then depending upon his priorities, he will inform the region or the team. Then one person from team will go there or he will inform the other staff. I mean, that kind of workflows can be modified just to provide the information right to the person who is on the field, so he can take appropriate actions then and there. I mean, that will definitely help the utilities to save on, to maximize their revenue and to, reduce their MTTR.
Okay, so first of all, I don't think a smart reader is anything without a smart app. So this is what's expected from the consumers, and the consumers have different needs, and all those needs should be satisfied in some way. And to do that, you need an open community to be able to drive the competition, so you involve the apps and the usage all the time. So I think alone sustainability for one app is hard, but in a community, I think it will be good in the end.
So basically, power distribution is a distribution of electricity, where we can say electricity is just a commodity which is consumed by the consumer. But definitely the network, the electricity quality, and the health of the network plays the biggest role. Incidentally, whenever we talk about smart metering and its utilization, 99% discussion is about the consumer benefit, bill, payment, collection. Are we doing justification with investment in terms of network improvement and other things? Because there is hardly any discussion on such things. So what do you say about that?
I request to the panelists, please conclude it as soon as possible. Thank you.
Yeah, apart from the side of story, we talk about the customer network is very important because if you talk about AT&C loss reduction, we can get billing efficiencies if we get the proper energy in my meter. If my consumptions are there, then we can go in for a collection. So if my network are proper, my loss levels which are there between and the quality of power, I'm saying, loss levels are secondary, my quality of power will be better. And that will try to bring, I don't have to put my capacitor banks to at least boost up the power and the voltage in the network. So the investment in enhancing the network brings in part of the downstream cost reductions and also enhancement of the service for the consumers which you are trying to get. So I certainly believe these investment will help in moving forward and getting a better utility, because smart metering is just not about putting a meter at the consumer end and trying to say, okay, I have now you in the control. But smart metering about having a smarter grid, which is actually resilience and working from the part of feeder to DT to consumer level and providing the benefit to the entire utility perspective, to the consumer and to the utility, having a beneficial kind of collaborative relationship. Thank you.
Thank you. So I take probably 3 examples. One, because I'm a father of 2 kids, I understand giving education, there are like multiple levels, multiple fee structures. So for the better future of your kid, you are already tuned that I want to invest more in my kid's education. So obviously if you invest more, there is a better return. The second thing, from banking and telecom, there was like huge investments happened in both the places. And now, though the initial investments were huge, there were tremendous developments that happened. I used to wait. I think initially when I started, we never had a telephone. We used to wait for 6 months to get a telephone connection. And then they were like extremely expensive, 10 rupees per call for outgoing and 7 rupees for incoming, and SMS is the only thing that was free. That was the only way of communication. Now, if you see, we have the lowest price in the entire world. So that happened because of the investments that were done ahead of time. So, and because of that communication, what happened was people, okay, I have a house help.
We have to be very fast because we are
she brings her kids and they watch YouTube videos and they understand, and their knowledge also improved, and when that happens, you are actually helping in building the nation. So that is the transformation that the telecom investment brought to our country. And banking, you have instant, your instant transactions are made possible because of the investments that were done by the banking financial systems. Now the utilities, we are at that investment stage, and the benefits, I'm not really sure how far we can see, but definitely 10 years down the line, we'll start feeling that, okay, we did the right thing.
See, we utility people always believe by 2030 we don't have a smart meter, we cannot run. So that's the thing, because it is more for the utility operation, not from the consumer perspective. Consumer loss, theft will not affect the utility operations. They affect only the financial sheet. But if I cannot schedule the power, if I cannot manage my outage, then everything will go haywire. So the aim has to be the basic distribution business is the network. Yeah.
So thanks, Bansal sir. I think very rightly mentioned, the distribution business is actually the right one. Other than that, it is backstream, it is all B2B. So just to put in, I mean, when the ground staff will have those kind of apps and the database is typically shared with the network operations database, it will definitely amount to, reduction in network outages because we'll be able to improve the time to restore. So the key, if network outages is happening, there should be a reduction, by using, by predicting renewables or by looking at what's the cause of these outages. Second thing, the restore time should be minimized, because if the restore time is not minimized, it is a direct loss to the utility. Power is already procured, you cannot give it, and then you pay penalty on top of it. I mean, it's 3x what is lost. So I think by combining, these two systems, network operations is bound to improve. And one more thing, I would say that just mere IT won't be able to do it. I mean, in every utility, we should have some specialized domain. I'm not saying that we don't have domain expert, but dedicatedly to improve network operations in the smart metering. I mean, till we don't have that kind of setup, because then they will say it's whose responsibility to improve network operations using this data. So collaboration is definitely another point that should be stressed.
Yeah, Richard.
There are technology steps you need to take. Sometimes it's a pain, sometimes it's an investment. But I think in this case we need to do this because we want to increase the standard, we want to increase the quality, and we want to increase in the end the welfare of the citizens. There are comparisons maybe to telecom where you have gone from 2G, 3G, 4G, 5G. These are steps that need to be done. It's huge investment, but in the end, it's a benefit for many of us.
Okay, my last question. That's the last question. So we all agree that we need some special apps, some special NS module software to enhance, to leverage maximum benefit. As per you, who are the best equipped one? The utilities, they can develop the best. The IT companies, AMISPs, somebody else, power experts, who are the best one who can develop the app? Be precise, only one answer. And second, can India become the world leader in developing such apps? No, I will start from you. Why this time I will give you a benefit?
Again, a very good question. Who will be driving the change? This is where so I believe it's the consultants, technology consultants will only do the part of technology, but it's a domain expert together with the part of technology consultants and the part of the solution which has to be rendered. A collaborative approach can bring us out, because if a technology guy will produce a solution, it will only be handling technology aspect, will miss out the part of what domain requires. So domain experience is important. The utility person along with the part of a technology consultants will actually bring out a better solutions, and that's what is a success which we have seen a longer run which is there. And today startups are positioned to deliver that because they are kind of bringing those domain experience and technology together to be focused. So startups are very focused because of their approach. So that's the way, and certainly the way the change is happening in India, and the Indian unicorns have been making a mark on a global trend. Certainly there is no doubt that new solutions coming up will make India as a prominent player in the transformation of the smart metering journey going ahead, which is globally.
Thank you. So I'll first address Indian question. Make in India, because one, we have variety of the problems. In the US and Western part, you can see different tiers, different time of use related consumption, but only in Delhi you will see if you consume until 400 units, it is free, and 401 units will be charged at 401 units. So that will actually help us in scaling to the world, because nowhere else in the world other than China probably. Yes, yeah, thank you.
So to me, I think I'll be very straight. It's only the domain experts, the power experts that, because everything can be managed. There are on-the-fly websites that can do apps and everything. Of course, the load and everything is a separate part, but the power, without the power experts, even an app to manage 5 smart meters cannot be developed. If it will develop, it will be a data app then, so which is not of much use to anyone. So power expert, and to me, India can certainly become, a global leader when it comes to smart apps, because the kind of variety, the kind of diversity we have over here, I mean, I'm not sure whether we see that anywhere in the world. So,
Yeah, I think it's a national initiative that has to be implemented by the asset owners or the power companies. And in the end, I think India is on their way.
So thank you. So this is all from the panel. Thank you.